Hi everyone, my name is Amy Craven and I'm doing my project on the Reggio Emilia and Montessori schools. So first I'll talk a little bit about the Reggio Emilia program and give a brief overview. So for their philosophy, they have a core belief that children are capable. They have high expectations for children in their classroom and a deep belief that they are capable of accomplishing what is put in front of them. And then they also believe that teachers are there to provoke, guide, and work with children. So teachers are kind of a team with the children. They observe them, they listen to what they're interested in, they talk with them about what they're interested in, and then they work together to decide on what they want to learn about. They also believe that the environment is the third teacher. So teachers spend a lot of time preparing the environment and making sure that it's accessible for the children. This program requires family involvement. Families are a large part of the decision-making process. And then they also believe that children's learning occurs through interactions with their community. Their environment, when you go into one of their classrooms, it's usually very open. There's lots of windows and plants. There's comfortable seating. The walls have a lot of photos of the children, the art that they've done, especially if they've been working on projects. They'll have the photos of that and also a description of what's happening in the photo. And then there's also a large variety of materials, especially art materials, because art is such a large focus of the program. For their curriculum, they do long-term projects, and those project topics are chosen based on the children's interests. Like I said earlier, they'll work on these projects until they feel like they have learned what they needed to from it. The families are respected as children's first teachers. They are expected to be actively involved in their child's learning. Their thoughts and opinions are valued, and they are used as a part of the decision-making process for learning. Families often donate materials related to the projects that the classroom is working on. And then they also have an emphasis on celebrating the child's identity, who they are as a person, and also where they've come from with their family. So for the Montessori school, their philosophy, they believe that development is an internally regulated process, and it requires carefully planned interactions with the environment and materials. They believe that children seek out order and purpose in the world. That's why they have so many real-life activities in their classroom, because they believe that children want to find that purpose and kind of mimic what adults are doing as well. Teachers are also called directresses in this program, and they believe that they are there to prepare the environment, demonstrate materials, and observe the children. There's a strong emphasis on independence, responsibility, and order in this program, and children are given plenty of free choice opportunities. Their environment is very clean and orderly. It's kind of everything has a place, everything in its place. The classrooms have many home-like elements. There's often sofas and plants in the classroom, and all the materials are available for children to use. For the curriculum, children decide on the activities they want to do, and they have long stretches of independent and uninterrupted work. They often have 3-hour stretches where the children are working, and teachers will put snack out as an option so children can choose to go eat, or they can continue working if they don't want to stop. And teachers often don't interrupt their work. They'll often find children that may need an activity demonstrated to them, or they'll be observing the children. As for the curriculum, Maria Montessori, who founded this program, believed that they needed to focus on 5 areas. And those areas are practical life, sensorial, mathematics, cultural, and language. She designed specific activities and materials for these 5 areas, and that's what you'll see in the classrooms. As for the family involvement, it was really difficult to find information about it, but they do have a strong belief in educating families about the program so that the method can continue at home. Families are a key part of this program. This is the Reggio Emilia program and family involvement. So communication with families, they're a key part of the program and are communicated with frequently, usually on a daily basis with the teachers. They receive information about their child often, and some families serve on community advisory councils. As for the information they receive a variety of information about their own child, and if they're serving on a council, they'll receive more information to plan, make decisions, and support the educational process. I didn't really find any information about parent education or training. There really was just nothing that I saw while I was researching this. And for the greater community involvement, they believe that everyone in the community should have an interest in the children's education. The curriculum should reflect the community's values and qualities, including all of nature. And in Italy, teachers are seen as active participants in the community and are expected to provide updates about what is happening in the classroom. That's a little different than what is typically found in the inspired programs in America. Reggio Emilia was founded in Italy, and then the programs everywhere else are just inspired from those. So that is one of the bigger differences between the programs. As for Montessori and family involvement, communication with the families are valued as the first teachers of children and are seen as a way to learn more about the child. This is very similar in both programs. They view families as a way to gain more information about the children, and that way they can teach them in the most effective way. Family communications vary depending on relationships with teachers. Parent-teacher conferences occur throughout the year, and families are encouraged to observe in the classroom and to volunteer to participate in lessons or special activities. The information they receive seems to be exclusively about their child. I didn't really see anything where they were involved in decision-making or in parts of the learning process. As for the parent education and training, this is a huge part of this program. There is a strong belief that families need to educate themselves about the program in order to include elements of the program at home. They believe that this helps children learn if the program is continuous at school and at home. I saw on the Montessori Association website that they have a whole section dedicated to educating families. And schools offer parent education meetings where they learn about Montessori philosophy and methods. For the greater community involvement, there is a large focus on culture and community, and students and teachers participate in community service such as writing cards, baking, etc. For the strengths and weaknesses of Reggio Emilia, family involvement. As for the strengths, family involvement is one of the key aspects of this program. Families are actively involved in decisions about learning. They encourage families to join councils and boards, and involvement in the community is also ingrained in the program. As for the weaknesses, there's really not any information about parent education and training. But I almost think that it's one of those things where they're so involved in the classroom anyway, and they know what's happening. Maybe they don't feel like parents need to know about the philosophies as much. And then the strengths and weaknesses for Montessori, the strengths, they have an emphasis on educating families so they better understand the method and can continue to use that at home. Families are respected as the first teachers of children. They encourage families to come into the classroom to observe and volunteer, and they actively participate in the community through community service. The weaknesses, there's not really any mentions of serving on councils or boards to be part of the decision-making process. And there just doesn't seem to be as much of a partnership between schools and families. They just don't seem to be as involved as in like a Reggio Emilia program. The research I found for the Reggio program, I found this study that they did at a Reggio Emilia inspired Head Start. They looked at 2 different programs and interviewed families about their involvement and the feeling of connection they had with the classroom. They found that families didn't really know as much about the philosophy of the program, but they did know a lot about what was happening in the classroom. And the families felt like they had exceptional relationships with teachers and were active participants in the classroom. This study showed that families don't really have to fully understand the complex philosophies to be actively involved. And they also found that Reggio Emilia-inspired programs that they looked at were able to make deep connections between schools and families. I think this kind of affirmed what I was thinking, that even though families might not understand the philosophy as much, they're so involved in the classroom and they know what is happening that they're still able to have those relationships and really get involved with their child's education process. the research I found for Montessori, it was really difficult to find like a study that was done specifically about family involvement. So I actually found a couple of different things. I found one study about promoting parent involvement. They asked families about activities that would help increase involvement and strengthen the homeschool relationship. They looked at current involvement activities, and they found that families actually wanted more information about the program and philosophy. And they also found that as far as the involvement, there were some families that were involved, but there were actually a lot of the families didn't actually know, they weren't aware of what was happening. So I think that kind of shows maybe a lack of communication. And this study was also just done at one school. So I think that's important to keep in mind as well. And then I found these two really interesting articles that I wanted to share. One's about humanitarian work that they're doing. So what I understand is that Montessori schools already help other Montessori schools that may have been affected by fires or tornadoes or things like that. But they're actually wanting to branch out and help more communities that are in need, maybe from hurricanes or earthquakes, and they're working with administrators, families, students, and other educators to help provide that aid. I saw that some classrooms were sending backpacks to areas that had been affected by natural disasters, and they're really relying a lot on family involvement in this as well. And this is being organized by the American Montessori School Peace Committees, and they're recruiting through social media. And then I found this other interesting article about parent education program in Hong Kong in China. And they said that there, families are required to take an 8-hour parent education course before their children are even enrolled in the program. And then they actually continue their education through 30-hour long, 60-hour long, 90-hour long programs as well. And the schools do this because they find that it increases the use of the methods at home. And like I've said, that they believe that helps the child overall whenever it's the same at school and at home. The questions I have: should more Reggio Emilia inspired schools implement parent education programs? And does this program have enough family involvement? How could it improve? And then Montessori, what types of family involvement would be beneficial to Montessori programs? And should parent education programs be such a large focus of this program, and why? Here are my references. I would love to see what you guys said about the questions that I asked. And if you could let me know. If you have any questions, that would be great. Please leave me some responses. And thank you so much for listening.